Computer. Right, we're recording. Good. Okay. I'll make sure that's happened. So we're all good. Okay, guys, I'm gonna kick off. What I will do is I will go through just what's going to happen this week, I think, as the first thing. I'll do a bit of a preamble though. I think just reading through everyone's check-ins, I think assessment week has done its job. It's given people a lot of clarity. It's sort of opened up. All right. So this is just generally speaking, just what like the collective have said. Everyone's going to have like a slightly different experience there. But I think what it's ended up leading to is I think it's highlighted portion sizes a little bit. I think it's highlighted the need to maybe like have a little bit of a plan and preparation. And that's going to be like planning and preparation is going to be the crux of this week. What I'm going to do later on, I've started setting up everyone's calorie targets. I'll go through that towards the end. I've got like an example of a different client that isn't anyone in this group, so I don't like, upset anyone by showing numbers that people don't want to see. And it's also got a year's worth of data, so I can show that. I'm going to show you how I set these targets up. But I think with the assessment week, I think it's given people a lot of clarity. Their understanding portion size is a little bit better. We're kind of seeing what we need to do. And I think from my perspective, it gives like the point of it from my perspective is definitely to see what you eat now and for me to match your targets as closely as possible to what you do now rather than inflicting a target that isn't perhaps achievable just yet. Hey Beth, you're right. You haven't missed much, Beth. I'm just getting started with this all, so it's all good. So I'll show you what I mean by that using example of my client Joe's food diary in a sec. I think that's going to be the biggest part of this. I'll send you, it's going to be another link to a Google form. I'll tell you what to do, but you're going to do a little bit of a task of, you're going to look back through what you did last week. You're going to perhaps have a look at the calorie target I set you, see where the gap is, and then I'll get you to do a little bit of homework on how we kind of narrow that gap up a little bit. So what three things perhaps could be changed to make that happen? And then I'll get you to do the exercise that I used to do a lot with my one-to-one clients. I don't know whether Karen might have done this one back in the day, but I get you to come up with three go-to breakfast, lunches, and dinners. If you only eat one breakfast on repeat, that's absolutely fine. But that just brings in a little bit of meal planning. So what meal am I going to eat regularly? Because normally we've got like 6 or 7 meals we tend to rotate. It's very different if we go out, but normally we eat similar sorts of stuff. When we do that, we understand what the portion sizes are, and we might not need to calorie track them in as much detail. So that could either be we just save it as a set meal in our app, or we really do just understand that actually for a lot of us, if we came up with our main meals being, like, I'm going to be broad with this because everyone's got different targets, but between 400 and 700 calories for a main meal, depending on your activity level, how big you are, all that kind of stuff, you'll actually find that normally, once we think about it a little bit, most of our main meals that we make ourselves, we can fit into that bracket. And then we just got these building blocks of 400-calorie meal 3 times a day and maybe one snack, and that gets the job done. When life is normal, when it's like weekends and stuff, we might need to roll with the punches. And we can calorie track less in that regard. So it's kind of like just giving us more tools in our locker, having some recipes we can pull out that we know will get the job done, that we could perhaps either have tracked the day before or tracked after because we know those portion sizes are correct. I think that's what I wanted to say on that. I think in terms of someone asked a good question about like just trying to understand what the one-to-one input on this is. The one-to-one input is going to be like definitely on the Thursday. I will answer every question people submit to that. I know a few of you may not know what the questions are yet, and that's absolutely fine. We'll understand that as we go through the process. The other part of the one-to-one input is I'm very closely matching your calorie targets to what I think is achievable. If we go into my net diary, you're going to say to it, I want to lose a certain rate. It's going to ask you how much weight you want to lose a week. It's going to spit out some numbers based on no context. That's absolutely fine. The maths still maths out. But if I'm looking in your food diary and you're like really low on the calories and telling me you're always hungry, that's something I need to fix. So that's where it becomes that one-to-one without speaking to you one-to-one. Equally, if my net diary say if you told it you want to lose 3 kilos a week, I'm going to be like, nah, we're not doing that. It's too quick. And if you tell it that, it's going to make your calorie target really small and it's just not going to be sustainable. So that's again where my skin in the game comes in with that. So what I'm going to do, I'll show it to you now, actually, because I think it's, rather than having some pictures. So I'm going to make sure I share my screen. Why won't you let me do that Safari? Let's go with that one. Share. Um, mm, oh God. Maybe I can't do that. Maybe I can't do that. What I'll do, guys, is I'm gonna do a different video where I zoom like where I loom over it. I just can't get my colleague's laptop to give me the right permissions. But essentially, I'm gonna look back through your assessment week, see what that looks like, and match your calorie targets to that. One thing, now we've all checked in, I think a few different people said they could see like the measurements and the weight in combination are kind of showing progress for a lot of you. If that hasn't happened yet, that's cool. We've literally just done the assessment week, and I did tell you an assessment week to just write down what you normally do. If that kind of extra kind of it's not necessarily even accountability, just like oversight normally adjust behaviors a little bit, and we normally see like a little bit of measurements falling away, normally a bit of weight falling away, just because we're thinking about what's going in our mouth. Simple as that. Quite often we'll see either the weight reduce or the measurements reduce. First couple of weeks, because we changed a lot of things, we might see that happen like quite quickly. It's not unusual to see the measurements go down and the weight have sometimes even gone up. Like we're so conditioned to like body weight being everything, and it really isn't. Even with like, I know certainly like Sarah was really kind when she worked with me one-to-one to like allow me to do a little video with her where she talked about this a lot, and like it's only a pound, it's only a pound, it's only half a pound, or it hasn't moved this week. But then when those centimeters fall away, it just looks like ridiculous rate of progress. And like Sarah's transformation photos are in some of the marketing stuff you've seen this. So it was only like a short period of time. The measurements are like really, really powerful. And if that's gone down and the weight's gone up, it's just water retention. It's impossible to lose body size. Like if our body's shrunk, then that must have led to weight reducing. Just because the scales say it hasn't is like it just doesn't net together. Like it must have gone somewhere. Our bodies are like a
I
sponge.
just
Sarah, yeah,
something on that. Is that all
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It just
please, yeah.
I was going to mention it because so one thing that I found really useful that because we have to weigh ourselves every day, you see the up and
Mhm.
down. And one thing that I've really noticed with how my body works is that I'll sort of be a bit like this, and then my weight will skyrocket up by half a kilo or a kilo, and then
Yeah.
it will do a big drop. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else has had that or noticed that, but just to say, if you see that, don't panic because it doesn't mean that you've put on a kilo,
And
obviously.
that's I was going to raise that later, but it's the perfect time because the last two times, that was one of my questions: do we still weigh daily during this time? But the last two times I've weighed, the weight's gone up each time, so I'm feeling very despondent because I've got better at with my MyNet diary as the week's gone on. I started pretty poorly because I was just reevaluating, but the like the past 5 days I've been really good and my weight's gone up and it's like, oh. And that's, I think, previously I thought, well, what's the point? But I guess that this is what we're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I think what actually happens quite a lot, we get this kind of like whoosh effect, which I might have talked to you, some of you about already. Um, it's almost if we've been like really consistent. Um, sorry, I was just trying to see if I could share. I need to restart the call to share. If we've been really consistent with our calorie tracking or like our portion control, right? That's the thing that we can control and the only thing we can control. We could do that, and the scales and even the measurements still go up. That's just biology. Like often, if we see either like a plateau in weight, or if we've been consistent, a plateau in weight or a slight rise, that's a sign that water retention is kicking around or even building. Water retention will kick around and build until it's ready, and then there'll be this like drop off And that's like what I like to call a whoosh. It's not my term, but it's a very good explanation for it. So all this water's building and retaining. Think like an empty Coke bottle, 2 litre Coke bottle versus a full one. The full one's heavier because it's full of water, right? That's like 2 litres is like 2 kg, right? If that all empties out, it becomes lighter. That's when the scales fall away. Sometimes the measurements fall away as well. If we do it enough and we just like desensitize ourselves to it, what we'll actually start to learn is it's a good sign that it's gone like plateaued or even rising because it must be about to come down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that it's like the more you see it, the more you get used to it. And even like when you're really experienced, we still see it happen. And we're like, oh God, it's stuck. Where's it stuck? And the other thing that causes it to stick is stress. And stress is like multifaceted. It could be like family, kids, work. Someone cut you up in the traffic this morning. You went home to get your laptop and realized your keys are still at home. So you've come back and borrowed someone else's laptop and like all that kind of stuff, right? Those things are all like little bits of the layer. Like worrying about the scales moving, even if it's subconscious and low level, is still a little bit extra stress. What happens loads is people are like, fucking hell, it's still stuck. And then whatever reason they wake up the next day expecting to weigh heavier and it's gone because they've just relaxed. Right. So I'm not saying it's easy to relax around it, but normally like people find that if they go on holiday or they just forget that it's been stuck for a little while, it'll fall away. So it is just like that, unfortunately. But the more patient we are, the more we lean in on the data, the more we understand it, the more kind of we desensitize ourselves to that. So is that okay, guys? Does anyone else want to say anything around that or ask anything around that? No, all good. Okay. Right. I wanted to come into a little bit around, so quite a bit of chat in the group actually, which is good. It always is the way. Managing not eating at home. I'm going to call it as a catch-all. When we're like in the groove, when we're in reality, like Monday to Friday, probably all fairly netted down in terms of like what we need to do in terms of food. And it becomes quite simple because you're just on repeat. You're busy at work, so you're not like picking at things. You're eating something relatively quick and easy and functional because it's not there for entertainment, it's there for like just function, right? So that can be really easy to get in a groove with, and we'll polish that up with the tasks we're going to do this week. When it comes to the weekend, it will be different for pretty much everybody because we're going to go out and see people. We're going to do probably stuff with the kids if we've got family, like whatever. We're going to do stuff differently. We might drink a little bit. We might eat out a bit more. Those things are going to be more calorific. So couple of bits with just that in terms of just we'll call it socializing as the first category. So I'm going to talk about socializing, I'm going to talk about travel for work, and then I'm going to talk about just being really busy as the three things that are going to get in our way. If we talk about socializing, I think one thing to remember is like I use this analogy of like pretty much all of us are a bit old for this, but like in terms of like our friends are probably already married. But if we think back, like imagine going to your best friend's wedding, right? That is going to be the food around that, the drinking if we drink, like all of that scenario is going to be like everything is adding to that occasion. The food's adding to it. Think about Christmas Day. The food's adding to Christmas Day. The drinking's adding to it for some of us. Like, and we're going to wake up the next day, might have a slightly thick head, think, great, that's incredible. Would I change anything about yesterday? Might have got there earlier, might have partied a little bit harder. Like, whatever. Okay, like, no, I wouldn't, right? If we're coming out of a situation, this is like the flip side of it. If we're coming out of a situation at the weekend saying that wasn't worth it at all, that really educates whether we should be trying to control that situation or not. The reason I'm framing it like this is if something's worth the hangover, let's say, let's go and have at it and have a load of fun. Because if we ate out once a week for the whole year, we can still stay in a calorie deficit, right? It's not putting a massive impact on the week versus the flip side of the reward that we're getting from it. I used to use this like kind of analogy on Instagram of like if we're going out with someone from the office and we're celebrating, we don't like them and we're celebrating their dog's birthday, why are we staying around for a bottle of wine and a load of nachos, right? Let's just get out. Let's have a lime and soda and bugger off, right? What is the food adding to that if you don't enjoy that situation anyway? Right. Having that line in the sand really helps because we don't feel then guilty for doing either thing. at our best friend's wedding, we don't feel guilty for like slamming into the cheese board and drinking a load of booze because that was the plan and it was worth it. That doesn't mean we can't be in it and the situation be like, you know what, this isn't worth it anymore. I'm going to can it and stop eating and stop drinking. We can still do that. Flip side is we're not then feeling guilty for, you know, Debbie's dog's birthday from accounting that we don't like not having a glass of wine. Why are you having a glass of wine? Why are you even there? Right. That kind of really extreme example, but don't feel bad for trying to fit into a situation you don't really not that bothered about. It's all about like that reward for what we're getting. Then that educates how we handle the weekend. So in the case where it's like going to be the best thing ever, just go and have at it. Just don't control that whatsoever. Just own it, right? Normally we're going to fit somewhere in the middle. How worth it is it? How much do I need to control that? It could then be, I'm going to overeat this evening. What I'm going to make sure I do 100% is when I go out in the evening, I don't go into that situation starving hungry because I'm going to overeat even more. I'm going to eat everything that's not nailed down because I've been forcing myself not to eat all day or eating really light. Try and eat normally. Okay, you know, maybe it's then like at lunchtime we don't have a slab of cake with our like lunch because we know we're going to go out, but we're still going to have a proper lunch. We're still going to have a proper breakfast, get a load of fruit and veg in, get a load of protein in. So we've ticked all the boxes and almost just eat normally on breakfast and lunch. And then when we go out, it's going to be more indulgent. Maybe we track it just to find out the impact because you'd be quite surprised. And then if it's been really worth it, just leave it and just be really compliant for the rest of the days. We can then play a few games with calories where then if it becomes like we still want to account for that, maybe we then look to eat a few less calories on the subsequent days to bring us back towards a calorie average for the week that is within the range that I'm going to give you. So it might mean, let's say we went over by 300 calories because we went out at the weekend. Well, if we ate 50 calories less for a few days, we can net that away. I wouldn't just like then try and eat 300 calories less for the rest of the week because that's going to drive you, you know, we're sort of like feast and famine there. And we want to avoid that as well because we want to try and eat a similar amount of calories every day so that our hunger remains consistent and things are easier for us. I'm not saying we're not going to eat more calories at the weekend. We might let those calories rise at the weekend and have a few less in the week, but we want to make sure we're within the weekly average relatively closely, would be my advice around that for now. Okay. Does that make sense? Sarah, would you mind? Is there anything else that like you would add to that that I've maybe missed out?
Yeah, I think thanks for the reminder, Tim, because yeah, I struggled with that this weekend about the adding value. So yeah, I think that is really useful. But one thing that I found found quite useful is I do 3 days a week from home. So it's pretty boring, no kids. I can just focus. I always, for those 3 days, I always stick up my lowest limit. So I'm still in my limit. So I can still train. I don't feel starving,
Yeah.
but I'm really strict on those 3 days so that I do have that little bit to play with at the weekend. Um, and I think as long as you're not feeling starving and you're able to exercise if you want to or whatever, then yeah, that little bit of flexibility I found quite helpful. But that's just how I've done it.
Perfect. Yeah.
I was going to say, I think for me, I do 3 days at home, which I find is easy because I can control what I'm eating, I can control the food. But the 2 days a week I'm in the office is when I start to panic. And this week will be the first week that I've been in the office for about 4 weeks just because of Christmas and everything and last week. And I think that one of the habits that I had got into was, and I can probably make the right choices at work. You know, we've got loads of restaurants, we've got a Waitrose inside the building, we've got lots of different options, but it can take up to 2 hours to get home, and invariably I'll find I'm sitting on the M3 going nowhere or going really slow. So I've got into the habit of snacking. So it's trying to just get rid of that habit because I can have a bag of crisps, I can have like a bag of like Percy Pigs or something like that, and I know not having it in the car is going to help. But then that's all I can think about if I haven't got it in the car.
Remind me, Karen, did we, was it the case we used to have like a little snack before you left and got in the car? Did we use that with you or was that someone else?
Can't remember.
Can't remember. That might be something worth playing around with. Have like a little something
Yeah, I
just
think
before you get in the car.
even if I'm not hungry, I was still
Yeah,
snacking. It's just because I've got used to it because it's
yeah,
such a long, boring journey
yeah.
home. And I listened to podcasts and but it was still having that something to do. So it's just trying to work out what works for me
Mm.
and doesn't put me back into that.
I've definitely used that with other clients where we've kind of like had that issue, and then maybe it's like this intentional snack before you get in the car to like nourish yourself, whether that's
Yeah.
like half sandwich with an apple or something, like something just like quite nourishing and
Yeah.
like not too moreish, but enough to like get you between leaving the office and having cooked your dinner without then going and spiraling. So that
Yeah.
might be something to consider.
Because
I
I
definitely
know
say
that
look
there's no value in what I'm eating. I'm not even thinking about it half the time.
yeah.
It's just that action of
At least we know what the trigger is being in the car, isn't it? So that really helps educate how we then interrupt that. So
yeah,
I think that might be the play.
yeah.
Um, just to go on then to nice tangent into like when we are then out away from home, maybe eating the office or on the road working or on traveling. So I'll start with like being on the road. I used to do this loads for my job, my old job. Um, Things that help. So if we're on the road a lot in our car, I used to have like a little snack bag that I left in there of like some good long life snacks that would do the job that I just talked about with Karen, like break glass in emergency. So I'm halfway down the motorway. I'm coming from Sheffield to Guildford, which is a long way. I stop at the motorway services. I'm a bit hungry. I look around. Everything's a crap option. I'll grab my snack, use that to tide me over, get back in the car, and then eat something less crap when I get home. That doesn't mean we can't like go into McDonald's and get something calorie appropriate. It doesn't mean we can't go into Waitrose or M&S or whatever shop they've got there and do something. But that really helps if I decide that it gives me an exit strategy from that kind of like, oh shit, I've gone in there. There's nothing I want to pick to eat. I'm really, really hungry. I'm just going to go and cave in's probably not the best word, but like I'm just going to get like just do that thing because it's in front of me. Like the golden arches are there. It's warm. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Like at least we've got an option to go. Oh, I could have this and see if I want it in an hour's time. Right. The other thing we can do around traveling, so this depends how much like capacity we've got and time and stuff. One of my like number one options, which is nice that you mentioned Waitrose, Karen. One of my nice options doesn't have to be Waitrose, but if we are nearby a small supermarket, we could buy something that we would normally have at home. So, as an example, it's going to be like anything that we do out of the house is going to be more expensive because we're relying a bit on convenience. But we could walk into a small supermarket like a Tesco local or something. We'll be able to find something like a pack of tortilla wraps, a bag of ready wash salad, some pre-cooked chicken, and a squeezy tub of mayonnaise, for example, right? Yeah, we're not going to eat all of that in one go. We might have to take some at home or something, but we can make ourselves a chicken wrap out of that we might have made at home and grab a piece of fruit. Like we can still do that. We can almost make a packed lunch from the supermarket, and then maybe we have to take some of those bits home. Like when I worked in an office, I might used to leave some of the long life stuff in my desk and stuff and use it across the course of the week. They might have a fridge in there. Like it depends, but that could be a really solid option as like a stuff that I can still make and be more in control of. We could then go just simply down like the meal deal route, grab a sandwich, like grab the packet, have a look at it. I reckon like 500 calories and 20 grams of protein to get into your lunch is going to do the job. Can we bulk it up with a piece of fruit? Maybe steer away from the crisps because it's going to add like 250 calories for a grab bag that we probably don't need. Make sure we go, if we can, like zero calorie drink rather than full fat drinks. Again, that's going to add like 300 calories we don't need. Like it will get the job done. Will we be hungrier if we eat that every day than we do if we eat a packed lunch? Probably. But again, it gets the job done and it's really convenient. If we're then staying in a hotel for a night, I used to use this quite a lot. I can go down to a restaurant and eat. If I'm on my own, not the funnest thing to do, I can still do it. What a load of my colleagues and I used to do, we might go, if we're staying there for a few nights, we might go to a local supermarket one night and just have like a hotel picnic. We used to deem it, but just get something similar to what I've just spoken to. Grab a load of foods that are pre-cooked. I'm going to eat like at the hotel in my room instead of going out to dinner. But we can still go out for dinner. All right. other strategy, I'm going to come on to like more if we're at home and really, really busy. Like I know Claire like runs her own business with her partner, and she's like really struggling this week. 'Cause it's first week back. She's just manic, loads of stuff to do. She has to ride a few takeaways. Like takeaways are fine. Like we just got to understand the calories in them. If we're going for something like an Indian, try to go for more like a dry sauce because it's got less cream in it. Like Nando's isn't a bad takeaway option if you can like Deliveroo that, because again, it's like chicken and rice isn't that bad. Like pizza's going to be heavier, but maybe we need to have like a thin, like more Italian traditional style pizza than a thick base one. Only have half of it with some salad. We could even go down like supermarket ready meal for like similar to our what I just talked about with the sandwiches. We can go like find a ready meal that's like 400 to 600 calories with 20 to 30 grams of protein in. They really do exist. Like there's loads of them. They're pretty good these days. Yeah, it's not a star in terms of nutrition.
Yeah,
Sorry.
M&S do great ones.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them freeze as well. Some of them don't. They're going to be really quick and easy to put together. Is it perfect? No. Does it get the job done? Absolutely. It takes like what 10 minutes to get. Obviously, we need to have them in the house, but it's going to be lower calorie impact than getting an Indian takeaway, guaranteed. Um, like frozen ready meals are really good as well. Even to the if we're getting organized, let's say we cook like a big old lasagna, we can chop that up, put some of it in the freezer. So we've got our own frozen ready meal that we'll cook from frozen. All of these things help. They just need a little bit of upfront planning, but we shouldn't fear them. The one thing I do with like a ready meal, like they're going to be smaller in portion size because they want to keep those calories down. I think all the supermarkets are pretty aware they want to keep the calories down. And if they keep the taste in there, they're going to bring the size down to do that. Like, Beth's really good at this from what she said already. Like, Beth has loads of veg with everything. If we took that smaller size ready meal, just put tons of frozen veg with it because it just keeps in the freezer. It takes 2 minutes to boil up. That's going to be a great way to create something that is ready in 5 or 10 minutes that I would think you would struggle to get a takeaway delivered in the time that it would take to put together a ready meal and some frozen veg. But you've got to have it in the first place, right? I get that, but those would be my kind of tips around that. The last one I want to go into really quickly is if we're like away traveling with work and we're in hotels a lot, it's going to be harder. I would go and if I'm staying overnight, I'd go in there, I'd dominate the hotel breakfast, I'd get myself something like some oats or some eggs to get, and oats are really filling. I might take with me a protein shake just to have that alongside whatever I can get in the hotel breakfast buffet. I can grab some fruit. I'd really get a nice solid breakfast in because that's kind of normally it's going to be a buffet situation. I'm quite in control of that. If I set my day up with that, then that helps a lot of the rest of the evening. Loads of the other stuff I've said still applies. Maybe we're getting a buffet lunching, so we're doing a conference or something. If I take a bunch of snacks, one of those could be my piece of fruit from my breakfast that I've nabbed, right? That's then going to mean when I sit there with all the stuff that's around and all the beige bits, I might have a little bit of beige, but I've still got like a piece of fruit. I've still got like maybe a protein-based snack or a lighter snack that I can have to just help me manage that situation. So I'm still having the odd sandwich or bits and pieces, but I'm allowing myself to kind of stay fuller and bring up the nourishment in a situation. I'm finding ways to control a situation that isn't fully in my control. If that makes sense. Right, that's a fair bit on kind of eating away from home. I don't want to kind of labor the point too much. Does that help, guys? Does that seem fairly sensible? Also not as good.
Yeah.
With that. Right. So last little bit is one of us is sort of asking a lot about food noise. Now I did have a little look at their kind of calorie intake, and that's actually pretty good in terms of being not too low. So if we find ourselves in the situation that we are constantly thinking about food all of the time, right? That tends to be a couple of key areas. It's either undernourishment, stress, or both. And when they're both in combination, it's quite tricky. Undernourishment is easier to fix than stress for me as a coach, for you guys, and it probably is for you guys as well. If we are getting ourselves really busy and not eating breakfast, we might feel fine until lunchtime. We have a lunch and we still feel fine. And then we get to the evening and wham, like we can't stop eating, right? But I had my lunch, or like I had it with once I was doing a in-person talk. Sadie said to me, I have a great breakfast. It's really nourishing. I get home at like 6 p.m. We start cooking dinner and I just can't stop eating. I was like, well, right, okay, tell me about breakfast. Right, well, I make myself a green juice in the morning. It's got spinach, spirulina, water, like, and I was like, she went through all these things and it's got loads of health in it. Don't get me wrong. It's really like packed with vitamins, really helpful. I was like, there's about 100 calories max in that if we're really pushing it. It might even be 50 calories. She says, oh, well, in lunch, I have a salad. I go, what do we have with the salad? Well, I have leaves, I have tomatoes, I have cucumber, peppers. I was like, any protein? No. Any oil, any seeds? No. I was like, also, then we've had like 100 calories for lunch. So is it any wonder if we get up at 7 a.m. and we get to 7 p.m. and we've eaten 200 calories all day, is it any wonder that we're hungry? Ah, right. Okay. So lots of things thinking we're doing the right thing. That's quite an extreme example. That's nobody in this group, by the way. Like, don't get me wrong. But that shows how it compounds. Like skipping breakfast isn't a problem until it is. And I would really encourage all of you to find this where we're going to do the breakfast, lunches, and dinners exercise. I would really encourage all of you to find a breakfast that you can tolerate in the morning. I know some of you aren't as hungry in the morning. I'm all good with that. If you just got a piece of fruit in, it would be a start because we're getting some fiber and nourishment in early on, right? If we so other ways like so ways to make sure that we're well nourished, we're going to get loads of people said this week about wanting to bring their hydration up. It's quite natural normal. It's a bit hard this time of year because it's cold, right? Teas and coffees all count the calories in something that's got loads of like sauce and sugar and like cream and stuff in. But if it's just a normal cup of tea with a dash of milk, cup of coffee with a dash of milk, it still counts. Don't bother counting the calories, right? Get a hydration up, right? Water is best, but like sugar-free squash, whatever helps you to do that, so that we're like, that's one element of nourishment, right? Get our, make sure, as I said with the ready meals, slam the veg in, guys. It's free, right? Slam it in, really make a big plate of food. See how we can make sure we can get the biggest plate of food possible for the right amount of calories on our plate and use that veg thing to really help. I don't care which ones you eat. I don't care how you cook them. If you need to put a bit of butter with them to make them taste better, get it done. That will really, really, really help. Base each meal around protein. Breakfast is harder to do. I get that. It might just be that we have to like compromise a little bit around there. If we put protein in at breakfast, though, when you see your targets, it's going to become easier to hit our target for the day if we start to put some in at breakfast. Otherwise, if we have no protein at breakfast and our target's 120 grams of protein a day, we need to get 60 in at lunch and dinner. That becomes quite intimidating. Whereas if we could split it up more, it becomes a bit easier. Lots of ways to do that at breakfast with sweet options tend to be dairy based. So Greek yogurt, protein shake, or you can get non-dairy ones as well. Are probably my favorite ones to do. If we don't do that, there's like the non-dairy versions that are available as an omnivore. I don't think they taste as nice. They do the job for a lot of vegans. I did ask a vegan guy about ones he recommends, and he said like the Danone yogurts are okay. I then went and tried them. They are okay. They're not as nice as like a Skia, like milk-based one. They're just not, but they are a stopgap. The other thing, I know Michelle's not on this call. Like Michelle is definitely like a savory breakfast person. So when she's in a good groove with her meal prep, one thing she likes to do, she's got a little air fryer at home. Takes her a bit of like when she's doing her dinner in the evening, she'll like put all this stuff together. She might get on the side like a few like chicken sausages, a few potatoes that may be like semi-prepared, and she can just bang them in the air fryer because it's got a timer, get on with her morning routine of whatever she's doing to get ready for work, and then she might have like some sausage and some like air fried potatoes or something because that's what she prefers to have in the morning. We just got to figure out how to get that in. I'm personally not a fan of having a savory breakfast, and I don't want to like mess around with making bacon and steak and stuff at 6 in the morning. But if that works for you, make it work. So have a little think laterally, but then having that overall amount of nourishment throughout is really going to help. I guess the last thing I'd say on cravings is if we are getting a craving for something and we've ticked off the box of nourishment, we've done what we can with stress, and it's still there, go and eat the real thing. Biggest tip I can give you, rather than trying to hack the system and trying to replace I don't know, like a goo chocolate melt in the middle pudding with a rice cake with some chocolate on it. It's just not the same thing. It's not going to give you the same hit. Like, try and find a way to make it fit. If it's a craving thing for something that we're missing, even just like, let's say, oh God, all I can think about is having a cornetto, right? Well, put that in your calorie tracking is the first thing you do for the day. Make the other stuff fit around it. Right? It's 170 calories for a cornetto. It's not a lot. It can be fitted in. But if we wait till the back end of the day, we've done everything, it might be harder to fit in than doing it up front. It sounds a bit counterintuitive. If it is a craving thing, people don't really like this, but it is really good advice. Like, just have it regularly. It will soon lose its novelty. Like, probably like a lot of parents end up saying this to their kids, like, can't have ice cream every day, it won't be as special. Like, I mean, you can, but if you had ice cream every day, it wouldn't be as special. If you had chocolate every day, it wouldn't be as special. Like, try not to put foods on pedestals because we're going to crave them more. Ultimately, to get ourselves in a calorie deficit, we are going to need to say no to a few things, but we just don't be saying no relentlessly or like acting like a monk around it. We want to include as much of it as we can and still make progress. I guess like the other thing is, let's give it a week with some calorie targets now. If this person or other people are still finding the food noises horrendous, maybe next week we just think about maybe being in and around maintenance calorie level for a little bit, just to give ourselves permission to eat a little bit more food, and maybe that will net out. But if we're not ticking these boxes of nourishment, we are going to be thinking about food all the time. Like, that's how we're evolved. Our body's going to want, it kind of knows in inverted commas how much protein it needs. It knows in inverted commas how many calories it needs. If we're not giving it very many calories, not much protein, not much fiber, not much fruit and veg, it's going to make you eat more by driving up your hunger to get sufficient macronutrients and micronutrients in us. So something like, it's an extreme example, we're not bears or pandas, so our biology doesn't work like this, but pandas are massive. They're jacked. Like, gorillas are massive and really muscular. All they do is eat plants, but all they do is sit there and eat plants in massive, massive volume. That's because they need to get loads of, in the panda's case, loads of bamboo to get sufficient protein. So they're always hungry and always eating bamboo. Whereas when we're always hungry, we're always eating pizza, chocolate, and cakes, right? And we will get protein from those, but our calories going to be like through the ceiling to do that. So that's where I don't always like just protein, protein, protein. Like, the fitness industry is like really bad at that, but there is a reason to have it in there in a reasonable amount. It's gonna blunt your hunger a little bit more. It's gonna make your meals a little bit more filling. It might not be the nicest thing to eat, but we're gonna have to like play a compromise a little bit. Karen.
So you used the word reasonable there, and my question, which I'd written down, was, can you have too much protein?
Not really. I
Right,
think
okay, because my protein is always over the
that's fine.
amount that's currently in my net diary. Just because I
It's quite low in my net diary, though, isn't it? I think
Can be,
mine's always
yeah.
over as well.
I think
yeah,
I would. Yeah, I'm going to set you a protein target. What I normally use for you guys is about 1.8 grams per kilo of body weight, roughly, just because it's a bit moderate. Um, you could go all the way up to 3 kilos per gram of your lean body weight, I think it might be. But either way, like, I think that's a lot, right? 3 grams per, if we eat more than 3 grams per kilo of our body weight, we might just want to knock it on the head there. But it's going to get to the point where it's really expensive at that level. And I don't think anyone's going to be doing that. So, and that, even that number is like a finger in the air. No one really knows, because you can't inflict a dangerously high protein diet on someone and seeing if they get sick. But it has been studied that it seems to be okay even at that level. So you guys aren't going to be anywhere near that, I don't think. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, Karen.
Okay, cool. And there was one more question, but I'm happy to put it on the group because I know that it's nearly 1:15, so people want to go. But yeah, I'm happy to type it into the group if you want to.
Well, I guess have we got any other questions from anyone who's here? No. Do you want to ask it anyway, Karen? If people want to drop off, that's
It
fine.
was just a very, very quick one. So on the assessment week, we
Yeah.
had put in the training that we did.
Yeah.
On the tracker, there's no mention of exercise at all. So,
No.
and I'm not saying that I do, but if you exercise a lot every day,
Mhm.
how do you compensate if you don't know what we're doing?
So I can see your step count if you're putting that in there. I think in your case and Neil's case, I might add an extra line for your like extracurricular activities. Let's say anything over an hour. Let's say where are you at with your running at the minute? What sort of
So
mileage?
I'm not allowed to run for 2 weeks because of the
Okay.
dental surgery. So I was in the gym Friday and Sunday for an hour and a half each time. But because I've got the dog, I'm doing 12 to 15,000 steps a day out, and that's in addition to stuff that I'm doing in the gym. But the
Um,
running will start again in about a week and a half's time.
okay.
So
Well, that's quite good timing for what I want to do because I think I want to get you and Neil on your calorie targets for a couple of weeks. And
yeah,
then I think about, so with everyone else, pretty much all of you only do like an hour-long exercise session, which is all accommodated for within the targets I've set you.
right.
Where I
Okay.
have someone who does more than that in a single session, for example, like Neil's a cyclist, so he's definitely going to be doing like 2, 3, 4 hours on a bike at some point at the weekend when he's in his thing. That's significant. And I will look to put some of that back in based around what he does because it's not necessarily consistent either normally. Same with you, Karen, as your running mileage ramps up. If we peak over that hour occasionally, we might just look to eat a little bit more on that day just to make sure we're not dragging ourselves too far below our
Yeah.
we're not increasing our calorie deficit too sufficiently. But that is very specific for you two guys. And I think I'll probably just put an extra line in your spreadsheet under the step count just so you can tell me about that. And then I can think about it like more specifically. But with all of us, like I wouldn't, everyone else in the program, I wouldn't compensate nutrition for exercise. It's just too complicated for what we're trying to achieve. And it's not going to move the needle as much as all the other stuff we're working on. All good? Wicked. Right. Okay. Anyone else want to ask anything before we finish up? Nope. Okay, perfect. We'll leave it there. Right. Thanks for your time, guys, and I will
Very
speak
much.
speak
Thank
to you
you.
all soon. Take care.
Thanks, Tim.
Cheers.
Bye.